Hello and welcome to SHRP Talk, the show by washed up athletes for washed up athletes looking to be their best self. On today's episode, Jaden and I talked all things sleep, how we personally view sleep and how that's changed over time, some of the science of why sleep is important from a physical, mental, and spiritual standpoint. We hit on some things you can do to optimize sleep, as well as our own personal routine and things we use to get higher quality and deeper sleep. We also get into a little bit of the nitty gritty of the different sleep stages and how you can optimize each. For both Jade and I, we discussed how it's one of the pillars for overall health, along with exercise, faith, nutrition. It's one of those big rocks for us, not just from a physical standpoint and recovery, but also that mental side, that spiritual side, and overall just making us a better person, our very best self. And we both realize the importance of sleep in that. And so hopefully some helpful takeaways for you and just realizing why sleep is important, especially if it's not a priority for you. And also if you're struggling to get sufficient sleep or high quality sleep, just some helpful tips and tricks that we personally use or have heard recommended that you can try out to build into your routine to try and optimize your sleep and just improve your overall quality of life. So definitely a great episode, great discussion, and hopefully some practical takeaways for you to get some better sleep at night and lead a better life. So thanks for tuning in and hopefully you enjoy. Before we get rolling with today's episode, I want to take a minute to tell you about SHRP Training. Snyder Health, Recovery, and Performance Training is designed for former college athletes to improve their physical, mental, and spiritual health. For only $12 a month, you can choose a training plan that is catered to your needs, interests, and goals, with new programs delivered each month through the Team Builder app. You'll also receive 24/7 messaging and feedback from coaches, access to an exclusive Discord to continually learn and be encouraged by others, a 20% discount on Thorne supplements, and access to the SHRP Edge, the ultimate guide to upgrading your diet, sleep, and life. Iron sharpens iron, so let us help you become your sharpest self. Now let's go.
We got this PT exam book, and it's freaking massive. And
You have a book called PT Exam?
yeah, it's for the licensure exam, basically. And it's pretty organized. Like, I'm glad we got it. It's pretty good.
So you have Friday off? Do you get anything, or do you have Friday off?
Friday's our short day. We go till noon.
Okay. Been watching some golf?
Yeah. My lineups
Not good.
sucked. All of them had 2 people getting cut.
How many did you do?
3. Freaking McIntyre screwed me because I fed
Bobby.
into the lefties being studs at Augusta. Bobby sucked. Phil choked. Henley
Bad.
sucked.
I had Phil and Henley as well.
Cam Smith out of nowhere, back
Yeah.
9, shoots like a 44. Who else? Zally. I think that might be it. Glover was maybe a long shot. Yeah, wasn't good. So I'm trying to redeem it by placing a Rory to win it bet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Mine are
I
pretty
think he's
solid.
got it.
I did like 20 cheap ones. Got like 3 or 4 with all 6 guys making the cut.
Yeah.
My Masters pool team is looking nice. 8 of 9 guys made the cut. It's looking good there.
Who's on your Masters
2
pool?
days. Like my guys or
Yeah.
Hatton, Morikawa, Berger, Minwoo, Danny Willett, Thigala, someone else I'm missing.
Haddon was a good pickup.
Hatton? Yeah.
Yeah. He's
I
all
can
over the
pick-
place, though.
Yeah.
He could finish anywhere.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm happy he's on the squad.
Yeah.
Are you gonna get the sticks out at all before we go off next weekend, or are you just gonna send it?
Emily got gifted some really old golf clubs from her grandma, so I think we're gonna hit the range on tomorrow
Awesome.
just to mess around. That was before I even knew we were gonna golf, so maybe I'll go one more time during the week, depending on how bad it is, but we'll see. I've kind of accepted that I'm not gonna golf very much this year, and just I'm gonna bite the bullet. But have you played at all or much?
Played a couple times 2 weeks ago, and then it wasn't very nice. And then last night was really nice, so went out and played first nine and hit it really well. So
Yeah.
it's that time of year where I'm not really thinking about anything at all. Just go out and swing it, and eventually something will go wrong, and I'll start making some adjustments, and then something else will go wrong. But just gonna enjoy it now while we're not thinking about anything. But very windy today, so
Yeah, I've kind of been seeing your guys' forecast, and you've had nicer temperatures, but the wind's been crazy.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
kind of always is, but
Yeah, we'll see if that stays, but just got to take advantage of the nice days, and I got to work on the wind game anyway, so go out and hit some hellacious seeds today, as Phil calls it.
yeah. Didn't you say it was like the wind was non-existent in Texas when you were
Pretty
there?
much. Never
Or was
over.
Kentucky too?
Yeah. I was just different, man.
Midwest.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice, but yeah, the wind never really worked on the wind game, so had to take last summer to get that back a little bit, and got a little better, but just part of it, man. Just got to ride the wind. It is nice having 30 miles at your back every once in a while.
Oh yeah.
Just let it rip. Hurt yourself. How'd you sleep last night, man?
Pretty good. Maybe I had a little more coffee than I should have, but yesterday was my hard run day, so it was warranted, and I had it all before 10 a.m. And we also had research day, so. But still
A
got
little
at
juice.
least 7, so hit the threshold, the minimum.
Nice.
But
Nice.
how about you?
Same. Saturday's kind of the morning where I don't set an alarm and just see what the body's feeling. And for some reason this morning, it wanted to wake up at like 5:15. So
Yeah, I was early too. I was like 6:20, and I was like, I normally am not this awake at 6:20, 6:30, but yeah, normally I'm a
likewise.
11 to 7 kind of guy. But it was a little early.
Yeah, still got my. I'm still go to bed. I don't know about you. Do you adjust your weekend sleep schedule? I still, unless something's going on, I still usually like 10:15 or 10:30. So I still got about 7 hours in, but I don't know. Do you adjust it at all?
I'd say during the week I'm probably closer to 10:40 to 6:40, but then weekends it's probably closer to 11 to 7. But it's always within 40, I'd say. But I kind of like you. I don't set alarms on days when I can do that or have the luxury to do that. So that's like, for me, that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. I don't set an alarm, and I always kind of wake up 7 to 7:20, sometimes earlier. But I don't know, just kind of let the body do what it wants on those days, and then a little more strict on the days I have to be up a little earlier.
Yeah.
Are you pretty scheduled? You said you don't set an alarm, but
Yeah, pretty much every other day scheduled. I have like with the Apple Watch, kind of have to set an alarm or like a sleep time and a wake time. So mine's usually 10 p.m. and then wake up 6:15. So I don't always get to bed by 10 p.m., but kind of does that wind down time at 9:30. So I'm usually watching like TV or something by then, and then out by like 10:15 on average, and shoot for 8 hours. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't, but get it more often than not. And then just sets you up for a good day. So that's how we do it 6 days a week, and then Friday night to Saturday, kind of see whatever happens. But it's what works for me, man. Stages of life. It's nice having like this with the job I have, just a routine every day. So not having to get up super early, like with the coaching days, or different times from day to day. So sympathize for people who have to wake up at different times or have a lot going on where they got to switch their sleep schedule up often. But I like keeping it consistent. Works well for me. So it's just how I do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when you first brought up this topic and talked about how we view sleep, I kind of just had to reflect and think about how I maybe used to think about it and how I think about it now. And yeah, I would say it used to be something that I overlooked, but is something that is more of a staple now. I feel like I put sleep with like the movement, nutrition, faith, and social connection. I feel like those are like the 5 pillars of who I am and what I want to prioritize. Over the years, I've realized that like improvements in performance aren't necessarily like part of the workout. Like you don't see it intra workout, but it's like the adaptation you see from recovery and seeing that to the stresses we apply to our body, whether that's physically or mentally. I've placed more priority on that adaptation instead of just the stimulus. And it changed the way I train and recover. And that's why I prioritize it, not just to feel rested, but to see the full potential of body and mind. Because like future on, I'm thinking futuristic. I want to be the best, not just physically, but mentally that I can be as a future physical therapist and someone who can think clearly and problem solve and treat my patients in a way that reflects the way I'm performing. And just checking all those boxes. And it's kind of like progressive overload, right? Like we do this in strength training. We apply a stimulus progressively over time and we expect the performance to increase. But I kind of view mental the same way. Like I'm trying to increase the load of knowledge and of studying over time to see what my limit is and continue to break those glass ceilings. And sleep is a big way that I adapt through those stimuli. And just over the years, I've done a lot of research in the space, not just like school. Like I've had a neuroscience class where we've dove into sleep and sleep stages, but also like listening to podcasts, reading books from Matthew Walker, Andrew Huberman, stuff like that, to optimize sleep in my own life. And I feel like we're our own case study, right? We get to experiment with. I used to have a Whoop, now I have a Garmin. Just see what works for us, and how this impacts training or energy levels or mental performance. And yeah, I just feel like over time I've prioritized that adaptation and seen a lot of benefit in prioritizing sleep. So that's how I view it. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, pretty similar, especially in the sense that it's changed over the years. I'd say like high school didn't really think about it like a sleep schedule or whatever. Especially with different wake up times, we'd train, 4 or 5 days a week, and a lot of that was early morning. So wake up super early. I mean, what time did we train? Like 5:15 or 5:30?
Yeah, waking up before 5 most nights.
Yeah. So, and it's not like that was the schedule every day. So it would be like that, and then for a regular school day, like 7:15 or whatever. So, I mean, didn't really think about how that affected me. Just kind of, so like, sure, if I knew I had to get up earlier, would try to go to bed earlier, but didn't fully realize the effect that that has on kind of how you recover both physically and mentally. So, still realized its importance, but wasn't a huge priority. And yeah, wasn't didn't have a routine, didn't have a schedule. It was kind of just dictated by sports and school, and wasn't ever really consistent. And I think you can kind of get away with that in high school when you have a lot of energy and stuff going on. You just kind of deal with it. And then through college, obviously, with the exercise science background and having more like strength and performance coaches involved, kind of learning more about how crucial it is just from a recovery and performance perspective. So then it kind of became a tool for improving that. So just making sure getting sufficient sleep between strength training sessions and between practices, just to allow the body to recover, because there is a lot of demand. So that kind of came with improving nutrition and the science of training and sleep, kind of getting down that rabbit hole just because I enjoyed learning about it and just kind of what you said, applying it in my own life, that science, and seeing how that affected me. So kind of became a tool at that stage of life, and obviously still early mornings, but more so getting more into a routine, figuring out a routine that works for me so that I could, on those mornings that I'm getting up early, how I could go to bed earlier and fall asleep more quickly. So kind of saw it as a tool those years as an athlete. And since then, kind of like you said, it's kind of one of those main pillars of health that we put with nutrition, faith, exercise, kind of one of those big rocks for overall health, and not just seeing how it affects my physical health, my recovery, but also like preventing sickness, mental health, energy, just all these all-encompassing things that affects my day-to-day. And I really like the quote. I think I saw it on Twitter. I don't know who it's from, but basically how I view sleep now, it's not the end of the day, but it is the setup for a better tomorrow. So I think I view it that way. How can I use it to optimize tomorrow from a physical, mental, spiritual standpoint? Because it is vitally important for all those areas. And that's not to say that one night of sleep is going to wreck you. I've had that too, where because I view it as so important that it kind of gets to me when I don't get a good night's sleep. I'm like, oh, this is terrible. The whole day's ruined. But it's kind of that middle ground of, you can bounce back from a bad night's sleep with a little caffeine, but if it's habitually poor sleep, poor quality of sleep, or not getting enough hours, how that can catch up to you in all facets of life, especially as you age and as you have more stuff going on, I guess. So yeah, just view it as one of those pillars, one of those tools to make overall quality of life better. And I know that when I'm prioritizing it and getting quality sleep, it just makes me a better overall person. So definitely something I value and is very important for me. So any other thoughts with that?
I mean, I like
How
what
you
you
do it?
said about it's not the end of the day. Like a lot of the things that make you more alert and more awake today kind of can take away from how you feel tomorrow, right? If we pound ourselves with caffeine to try and wake us up today, and we're probably going to feel more tired tomorrow. So it's doing the things right today to set you up for a better, more consistent tomorrow. Yeah, I like that. And just prioritizing your schedule around that sleep routine and not letting that budge as much as you can. But yeah, I like that. And I also remember going back to the days. I mean, 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine and pounding some weights will wake you up. I'm sure that's why we didn't feel the massive effects. I mean, we probably felt it at 2 or 3 in the afternoon or eighth hour, but yeah, I remember those days of early mornings and some crashes, but no, it was all good. I feel like we agree on a lot and have learned over time. Next, I kind of did I wouldn't say deep dive, but a little dive into why we sleep, if we want to
Love
get
it.
into that.
Absolutely.
All right. So sleep might seem like a strange evolutionary choice. Think about it. From a survival standpoint, lying unconscious for hours every night makes us vulnerable to predators and takes time away from stuff like eating, mating, caregiving. So why do we sleep? The answer lies in the essential, powerful role sleep plays in human health and survival. If sleep weren't absolutely essential, evolution would have found a way to eliminate it. But instead, every complex animal on the planet sleeps, including insects, fish, birds, and mammals. The fact that sleep has persisted across millions of years of evolution tells us something huge. It's not optional, it's critical. Sleep touches almost every system in the body. It supports cardiovascular function, strengthens the immune system, balances hormones, and protects mental health, like you said. Sleep is also where memory consolidation and brain repair takes place, and studies consistently show that when sleep is compromised, everything else suffers: cognition, emotion, metabolism, and even reproductive health. Contrary to how it may feel, the brain doesn't shut down when we sleep. It switches modes. During sleep, the brain clears metabolic waste, prunes and strengthens synaptic connections, and locks in memories. Deep sleep is particularly important for body restoration, while REM sleep helps regulate emotions and enhance creativity. And we can get more into those stages later. You might expect humans to sleep a lot, considering our energy hungry brains. Most non human primates, like chimpanzees, sleep about 10 to 12 hours a day from sunset to sunrise. But in a fascinating 2015 study, researchers looked at hunter gatherer societies in Africa and South America, people living without modern technology, and found that they only slept 6 to 8 hours per night. Even in natural settings, people stayed awake for about 3 hours after sunset, usually gathered around a fire, cooking, telling stories, and socializing. Um, this is part of the social connection thing that I mentioned earlier. I think there's still an importance to social connection. I think that's part of the reason why we don't necessarily sleep from sunset to sunrise. Sleep duration also changed with the seasons. It increased by about an hour during winter months and was closely aligned with the coldest part of the night. This shows how our sleep evolved to adapt to our environment and community, not just biology. Interestingly, in these traditional societies, insomnia was almost unheard of. I think the rate was like 2%, and it's closer to like 20 or 30% in society today. And this suggests that the high rates of sleep disorders we see today might not be natural. They could be consequences of modern stress, artificial lighting, and disrupted routines rather than something inherently human. And the sweet spot was kind of 7 hours. There's large population studies involving up to 1 million people that found that around 7 hours of sleep is associated with the best outcomes for health. Not too little, not too much. This seems to be the optimal amount for the average adult when it comes to supporting long-term physical and cognitive function. When we lose sleep, our body pushes back. We get what's called a sleep rebound. The next time we sleep, we fall asleep faster and enter deep sleep more quickly. This homeostatic regulation is proof that sleep is biologically programmed, not just a lifestyle habit. And sleep deprivation, we know it can lead to cognitive decline, emotional instability, hallucinations, and even psychosis. In animal models, sleep deprivation causes brain degeneration and can even result in death. I think they got away with the world record for longest time you can go without sleeping because people were like getting close to death. That's how important sleep is. When people go without sleep, they can start experiencing symptoms that mimic psychiatric disorders like delirium, paranoia, or emotional breakdowns. There's stories of like ultra runners that run through the night and they have the hallucinations while they're in a race and trying to detect what's real and what's not. It's interesting. Um, so yeah, if you're ever tempted to pull an all-nighter or think sleep is a waste of time, remember your body doesn't want sleep, it needs it. Sleep is your built-in maintenance system, evolved over millions of years to protect your mind, body, and even your future.
Good stuff. And yeah, you touched on some of the like the science stuff in there, but for like Sharp, we focus on the physical, mental, and spiritual. So it's not just one aspect of that. So again, kind of how we view it from a holistic sense. Just diving into a few of those, I guess, more specific benefits in each of those areas. So I think from the physical side, obviously recovery. So if you're training often, whether that's running, strength training, whatever it is, it's essential to recover, especially those early stages of sleep. So, and maybe we can get to sleep stages later, but that's when deep sleep happens. It's usually not super long. Like I think mine usually maxes around an hour, usually less than that. But basically, that's when growth hormone is super high during that deep sleep, and that's kind of where the body is recovering. So if you're not able to fall asleep quickly and peacefully during that time, then you lose out on some of the recovery benefits during that deep sleep. And that's maximized like 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. in that range somewhere. So making sure that early part of sleep, falling asleep quickly and staying asleep, super important. And then like hormone regulation, super important, especially as we get older. So obviously we talked about testosterone last week, and that's really important for us guys, energy, strength as we get older. And that and other hormones are drastically impaired by how much sleep you get. So obviously more sleep, better hormone health, and lower quality sleep negatively affects hormone health. And then I talked a little bit too, like immunity, higher likelihood of sickness correlated with not getting enough sleep. So if you're getting sick a bunch, obviously that can be a bunch of factors, but you kind of expose yourself when you don't get as much sleep. So that's kind of from the physical end. And then mental, just your focus day to day, your ability to make decisions, whether that's at work, as an athlete, whatever decisions you're making day to day can be affected by your sleep, how well rested you are, and your emotions, your mood. Like I know I'm crankier when I get a bad night's sleep, and so that and your happiness and contentment, that can all be affected by your sleep. So I know that's a big deal from the mental side, and then kind of ties into spiritual. They're all kind of tied together. Being disciplined with your sleep schedule can lead to discipline in other areas of life and can make you more present, more patient, live out those. I think those fruits of the spirit can all be affected by how well rested you are. And so again, it just goes back to being your best self in all areas of life. And when we treat our body like a temple, treat our mind like a temple, and sleep being a big part of that, I think that's super important. So obviously important in all areas of life. So I don't know if you have anything with that or any other benefits you feel I missed out on.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can kind of go into the sleep stage. You kind of mentioned the deep sleep, and yeah, just to better understand, like you cycle through one full sleep cycle is roughly 90 minutes, right? You mentioned deep sleep is more prioritized early in the night. I think did you say 10 to 2?
Yeah.
It's roughly, yeah. If you're sleeping 8 hours, probably first 4 hours is priority for deep sleep. Last is priority for REM, or the other stage, which is rapid eye movement. People typically associate that with like the dreaming stage or whatever. Yeah, like you said, deep sleep important for growth hormone, immune function, recovery from exercise, doing a lot of those really valuable things. But REM sleep is really important as well. The It's interesting because your brain activity it almost mimics like you're awake, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that low amplitude, high frequency, and but your muscles go limp, right? So you're atonic, so your muscles are completely relaxed because we don't want to necessarily move while we're sleeping. We don't want to act out our sleeping. I know there's people like Peyton that will sleepwalk or whatever, but you're
Psycho.
you're not necessarily supposed to move and act out your dreams. So it's always interesting when you you see people that do that. But it's like the brain flips a switch on the body, but keeps itself fully online. REM sleep is crucial for memory consolidation, emotional processing, and neural rewiring. It's where your brain shifts through the day's experiences, reinforces what matters, discards what doesn't, and integrates it into long-term memory. One fascinating theory about REM sleep is that it may serve a thermoregulatory role. Studies have found an inverse correlation between body or brain temperature and REM sleep duration. So it's almost acting as if your body gets cold, your body's cooling, and the REM sleep is almost a shiver. It almost warms up your brain without your body having to move. So there's a theory that it actually heats your brain, which is interesting. I hadn't heard of that before. It was interesting to me, but yeah, and also more REM sleep doesn't necessarily mean a bigger brain or higher intelligence. In fact, studies across species show no consistent relationship between REM sleep duration and cognitive ability. Instead, what's more consistent is REM's role in keeping neural pathways active, refining emotional connections, and prepping the brain for optimal next day performance. As I mentioned, most dreams occur during this cycle. During REM, the emotional centers of the brain, like the amygdala, are highly active, while rational thinking centers, like the prefrontal cortex, are dialed down. That's why dreams are vivid, bizarre, highly emotional.
Very bizarre.
And some researchers believe dreaming's the brain's way of playing out scenarios, problem solving, or even processing emotions. And I know you keep a dream journal. I don't know if do you still keep a dream journal?
Not as often the entries because I know I'm gonna forget it, so I have to actively journal it in the middle of the night. But for a while there, yeah, had some crazy ones.
Yeah, it's interesting. Each stage kind of depends on the other. Together, they form a complete recipe for repair, adaptation, survival. These cycles evolve throughout life. Infants spend about 50% of their sleep in REM compared to only 20 to 25% in adults. Yeah, so you kind of see like the recovery physical aspect of deep sleep with more of the emotional, possibly thermoregulatory aspects of REM sleep. And it's cool that it's laid out the way it is. I think it doesn't let you prioritize one side or the other. I think it enforces that bedtime is important, but also wake time. Like you don't want to go to bed 2 hours later because then you're kind of missing out on that important deep sleep. But you don't want to wake up 2 hours earlier because then you're missing the REM, and you'll probably be emotionally disturbed by waking up too early. So I just think it's super fascinating that our brain and our bodies made in a way that is all adaptive and kind of I feel like we're still evolving and knowing more about what sleep looks like. We still don't fully know. I feel like I don't think we truly understand dreams
Yeah.
and what makes it up, but it's super interesting.
What's the craziest dream you've had? Can you think of any?
I am not good at remembering my dreams. I should start a dream journal because I'm sure the ones that I would remember would be interesting, but I can't say I have any that come to mind. I know some people have like recurring dreams. There's like themes of whether it's like falling or being chased or something, and they actually
You
have
don't
like a
have
meaning. I
you don't
don't
have
have
like a
any of that.
nightmare one either.
No. So
Interesting.
like do you have a recurring one? Do you like get chased or fall or
Tornadoes.
tornado?
Usually multiple tornadoes. Like
Brandon's probably
driving and
snakes.
can't escape them. But
No, that's interesting. I should. I don't know why I don't, but
trying to find a decent one from the Dream Journal to share, just to let people in on how weird they are. There was a lot during the Fortnite era, so I don't know why. Like because I mean that was also like COVID, so I was playing a lot. So like Fortnite and Warzone, there was a lot of Fortnite and Warzone dreams, but we'll see if I can find a good one here. There was one I think you were there. I was trying to read it at home and I was like crying
Could
laughing.
not.
I couldn't get through.
I think I read it for you.
All right, this is from August 2 of 2019 in the Dream Journal. I had a dream that I was in a new Avengers movie. At one point, we were with the characters in the office and a bomb went off and Angela died. The plot was that there was someone related to Thor who was evil and they were on one of the 5 moons of Jupiter. I don't know how many moons Jupiter has. I was sent there, but got into some trouble along the way and ended up lost. I was found by some weird people, and the only food available to them was a brown liquid called reek. The only ingredients that I knew were in it, based off seeing it made and looking at the bag it was in, was ham, squirrel, and mayo. Squirrel. Oh man. I refused to eat it and kept asking how much protein was in it, and there were no nutrition facts, and they wouldn't tell me. Then I was being chased by a snake that was blind but could follow my trail everywhere. I went and it sucked. So yeah, that's just one glance into the dream journal. I probably got like 30 entries. So if you ever need a laugh sometime, just ask me to send you one of my dream journal entries. But dreams are weird, man. Crazy that's a thing. But do you take like magnesium or L-theanine at all?
I personally haven't. I don't like to utilize supplements for sleep necessarily. I'm actually interestingly in a momentous study right now. They reached out to me and were like,
Oh, they reach out to you?
"Would you,
That's sick.
yeah, would you want to be interested in a sleep study where we measure the effects of?" I'm trying to think if it's for sure theanine, maybe apigenin. I don't know if magnesium's in it, but I don't know. Like, I could just have placebo. I could actually have the supplements. I don't. I get to use Absolute Rest as like their tracker. I think it's Galpin's company, but I don't think I. Today is like the first night, and I forget how many weeks it is. Maybe like 6, and I don't take any supplements this first week, and I don't know if I get a look at the results from Absolute Rest. I don't think I do. I think they probably get all the data, but I just basically have to wear the ring and then fill out some surveys about like stress. I think I haven't done them yet, but
Mm-hmm.
and then some of the weeks I take the supplements and some I don't. Um, yeah, interesting. I get paid to do it. Pretty
That's
easy.
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess like what kind of why I brought that up, like there's been people who have like when they start taking that have just noted like pretty vivid dreams. I think just because higher quality sleep than they're used to and getting into those REM stages, but maybe there's something else there. I think I kind of had that too when I first started out, but not as much anymore. But I think maybe get into wearables a little bit since you're using that. I think wearables are a great tool as well. You can kind of see those sleep stages throughout, and it kind of there's not a lot I personally get from that. I like again kind of seeing how much deep sleep there is, but it's just fun to see those different sleep stages. Kind of just brings it to life a little bit. Like this is where my body was recovering. This is where I was getting those REM sleep, and sure enough, like waking up after a dream in the middle of the night, like yep, that's where the REM sleep was. So it's just kind of interesting to look at it from that perspective, but also just seeing how many times you wake up during the night and see how effective and how high of a quality the sleep was, as well as the duration of sleep, both super important. And it's a good way to see, whether your lifestyle changes or routine changes, how they're having an effect on your sleep. It's a good tool. I mean, like anything else, like business tracking numbers or exercises, tracking weights, I think sleep's the same thing if it's a priority for you, just having a good way to track it because obviously it all depends on how you feel, right? Like maybe quality sleep isn't as good, but you still feel good when you wake up. But it can be a good way. Like maybe you don't realize how many times you're waking up in the middle of the night and how that affects you, or maybe you thought you got a bunch of sleep and actually didn't. And I've even had it the other way. Like I felt like I didn't sleep well at all, and I actually slept better than I thought. So it's just a good way to maybe not gamify it, maybe a little, with how quality of the sleep you're getting, but just a good way to track and assess. And again, we've talked about this with wearables and even earlier on, like it shouldn't be a source of stress. Like if you have a bad night or a couple bad nights of sleep and you can see those numbers, then if that stresses you out, then maybe it's better to just not look at it. But not being too hard on yourself if quality of sleep wasn't as good or if you didn't sleep as long as you'd like to. It's just a good tool. Again, anything that's important, you should track. What you measure gets improved. I think that's kind of the saying. So, yeah, I guess what's your thought on wearables? And I use Apple Watch personally, but you have a Garmin,
I
or
have a
what do you
Garmin.
use? Yeah.
I've used Whoop in the past. I used it for about a year, just to kind of get a baseline, and then I've used Garmin more recently. But I think it's important to take it with a grain of salt, right? It's not concrete. I think there's a good guy on YouTube, the Quantified Scientist, I think is what his handle is. He measures the accuracy of the wearables to the gold standard. So I think it's important to understand it's not 100% accurate, like especially with stuff like HRV and stuff like sleep stages. Like it's probably not completely accurate. So use it as something that can guide your sleep, but don't stress over the numbers because I don't think they're necessarily 100% accurate. So I think it's definitely super valuable for stuff like resting heart rate. That's pretty easy to calculate. Um, Stuff like sleep duration, I think it's fine. I found it more accurate with my Whoop because I could do the bicep strap and it's a little bit more accurate on your bicep than your wrist. I think Apple's heart rate monitor is pretty good. I think it's better than Garmin's. I don't think Garmin's is great. So I've definitely leaned into the data less since I've had a Garmin. I feel like I got a good enough feel from Whoop that I know kind of what helps my sleep and what doesn't and how I feel. So I don't necessarily like look into the stats too much in my Garmin, but I use it more for the training aspect. But I think there's definitely pros and cons to it. I think the rings that are coming out are pretty interesting. I think they're more accurate. That's the tracker I'll be using for the sleep study, and I think I've just seen good things from Oura Ring. And I think there's like an Ultra Human Ring, but yeah, I think it's a cool tool. It's definitely a way to measure what you want to improve. I think it's a way to keep you accountable, keep you setting goals and seeing what truly impacts. Whether that's one of the biggest things I found. Like if you drink alcohol, you definitely see the impact on your both resting heart rate, HRV, stuff like that, and you can see the impact of eating food too late or exercising too close to bed. Like you see the impact of these things on your sleep architecture, and it's interesting to see the effect. And honestly, it's crazy to see the impact on the priority that I put on sleep to try and make those numbers as good as I can because I know the benefit of good sleep and I know the detriment of bad sleep. So I know um, prioritizing these things and having something that is routine and knowing the things that I need to do to set myself up for success. And yeah, that's not going to mean I'm sleeping perfect every night. I don't think perfect is the standard that you should look for with sleep. I think you're just trying to do what you can with the situation that you have. There's going to be nights like for me that I have tests or that I have things that keep me up maybe later than I should, but it's not putting too much thought or stress into those things because that can negatively impact your sleep going forward. So um, overall, I think personally wearables have been a pro, um, and I think sometimes people can kind of let it get to their head and look into it too much, but definitely a tool.
For sure. So we hit on the importance of sleep, how you can track it. Um, what's your routine look like? How do you practically try to make sure that you get a good night's sleep at night? What's that look like for you?
Yeah, so it kind of fluctuates with my schedule, especially with school. I really try to make every day pretty consistent. And when some school days go till 5 o'clock and I don't get back till 5:30, it can be hard to make that exercise routine consistent because I like to work out in the afternoon. So I probably work out and eat maybe a little later than I would like right now. Um, I mean, there's times where I don't get done working out till 7:30 and done eating till 8:30, and ideally I'd like to probably be done eating by 6:30 or 7, but that's just kind of the cards I've been dealt at this point. So I feel like consistency is more important. So I've valued that instead. So I personally, yeah, work out probably 6 to 7 or 7:30. Sometimes there's a sauna involved. Probably 4 times a week there's a sauna involved. Um, get back, eat. I have a smoothie as well, and then kind of do the harder mental work, um, or whatever I need to do yet in the night as soon as I can after that meal, to try and prevent like my mind from continuing to run when I do lay my head down to the pillow. So I'll probably do some more mental work until 9:30, 10 is when I try to shut that down and then really try to get the lights off, get red light on the phone or computer if I'm still using it. Otherwise, I um, try to read a fiction book. I kind of like you. I think you're reading Divergent too. I just started Divergent, so trying to read a fictional book at night. I love nonfiction books, but they can still kind of be stimulating for my brain and get me thinking. So I've recently switched to more of a fictional book within 30 to 40 minutes of bed. Try to stay off my phone. Try to get lights off, get the AC running, try to get the body starting to cool off. And yeah, try to be in bed 10:30 to 11. Um, Emily's pretty similar, so we're not really too different in our sleep routines. So yeah, I would say that's a good estimate of what most nights look like. Um, if I don't sauna, I'll typically warm shower after I work out and do that probably about 9 o'clock, set 8, 9 o'clock. Um, but yeah, just prioritize getting cool, getting lights off, getting off cell phone or interactive electronics, reading a book. I don't personally journal. I've heard the impact that journaling can have, both getting thoughts out of your head and writing positive things. I've done a little bit of breath work. There's like a 2-minute tracker on the Garmin that I'll do, and just try to see how low I can get my heart rate and how high I can get my HRV, through some deep breathing. So do that probably anywhere from 6 to 12 minutes if I'm feeling like I'm still a little wired, but I can't say I do that every night. But yeah, those are kind of the staples I have in my routine. Curious what you
What's your
do.
what's your sleeping heart rate before we move on? Since if it's what, like high 30s, low 40s regular, right?
I would say that, so that's more of what my resting is at night. So like
Okay.
last night it was 41 because I worked out a little later and it was pretty intense. So that's on the higher side. Earlier this week it was like 36, 37. So you can kind of measure like CNS fatigue and recovery based on how low that heart rate is. I feel like if it's 37, 38, like I'm in a good spot to go pretty hard. But if it's over 40, I know I should probably take it a little easier that day. But
Gotcha. Yeah, for me, some similar, some different, and there's a lot that goes into it. Some of it's directly to impact sleep, and some of it's just a lifestyle thing that in turn also helps improve quality of sleep. So Sleep's so important to me. The routine starts as soon as I wake up, getting that morning sunlight, baby. Um, I think that's helpful, whether it's sunlight or I have my little light therapy lamp doing that in the morning while I read the Bible or journal, whatever, doing that for 30 minutes or sun for 10 minutes. I think it's pretty similar, but just helping setting the circadian rhythm. Obviously, we want it makes sense, but making a priority. So light during the day and darkness during the night. So for me, that's starting with light pretty much as soon as I wake up, getting light in the eyes, and then sticking with light. Just make sure getting more towards darkness, turning the lights off towards the end of the night as it kind of aligns with what's going on outside. So light during the day, dark before bed, and during the night, making sure the room is really dark as well, making sure there's no light sources. So yeah, starts in the day, and then I guess working in order. What I've hit on this before, but no longer eating after like 6:30 p.m. So going to sleep at least 3 or 4 hours fasted. I didn't necessarily do that to improve my sleep, but I've seen it improve my sleep pretty drastically just because, like I said, I used to get like a little protein source and something else right before bed. And I think that did what?
I said meathead.
Yeah. Yeah. You know how it is. So yeah, I would do that right before bed, and that kind of started with college, and that just kind of carried on beyond with training every day. It's like I can't go 8 hours without protein. I gotta get it in the system. But yeah, that's definitely been good for me, and it's kind of the same as the light. So eat while it's light outside, and don't eat while it's dark outside. So that's been helpful for me. Going to sleep fasted. Don't have any blood flowing to the stomach or anything, or worrying about digestion. Body's in a relaxed state, heart rate's lowered, so it can just fall asleep quicker. So that's been helpful as well. Caffeine, usually I take quite a bit, but I also take it all at once in the morning before I work out. So I don't have any caffeine past 7 a.m. pretty much. So that kind of, I've found that plus a good workout just carries me through the day. So I don't really feel the need to take anything else beyond that. And so caffeine has like a longer half life. So it can last up to like 12 hours in your system, I think. So if you're taking it past, noon, I feel like that can negatively affect your sleep. So
Yeah.
I found it helpful to, again, not why I do it directly, but it's been helpful that I don't have caffeine lingering in the system late in the day because, like, yeah, college, when we would train in the afternoon, if I took caffeine late in the day, like, sleep out the window. It's not happening. So that's been helpful for me as well. Other things, I would say getting closer to bedtime. For me, we hit on like blue light, phone, and TV, and I try to stay off my phone, but I'll watch a show every night. Watching Severance right now, really good show. But that's kind of a way of shutting my mind off from the day. Again, it's kind of like reading, just kind of take yourself into a fictional world and shut the mind off, and that's kind of my way of decompressing. So I'll watch a show every night and then transition that into, like you hit on, nonfiction reading. And sometimes I don't even get that in. Like I'll sometimes feel myself falling asleep at the end of the show. And it's like, all right, let's just carry this into a good night's sleep. But if I still feel somewhat awake after that, just read for 15 minutes, call it good. Reading the third Divergent series right now, and thinking maybe Chronicles of Narnia next, but we'll see. I want to read Louis' book as well, Fast Walk. So probably read that next. But yeah, that's kind of my way of shutting the mind off before bed. And then I don't know if I'm missing anything else. I would say just comfortable, staying off the phone, cool room, nice and dark. And then I've also been doing the mouth tape, the Ashton Hall. Do you even know who Ashton Hall is? You're not a big social media guy.
I don't know Ashton Hall. I have heard of mouth taping though.
Okay. He's gone famous for his morning routine and night routine. So maybe you can look it up after. But he does the little mouth tape. But I was doing it before him, so we'll just say he got it from me. But I've been doing that more because obviously nasal breathing is a good thing, and I know I haven't quite mastered the nasal breathing while I sleep because I can't exactly control that in the current stage. Maybe someday I'll just be able to do it. But so I've been doing the mouth tape and breathing through the nose, and I've just noticed it's like deeper sleep, lower breathing rate, heart rate is definitely lower while breathing through the nose during the night. And so, I'm not an expert, but I would assume a lower heart rate while you're sleeping, while you're calm, is probably a good thing. So that's been something I've been trying. I've probably been doing that for a month or two, and I kind of like it. There's some tapes that are designed specifically for that, but I'm cheap, so I kind of found some knockoff version that works for me. Hurts the mustache hairs a little bit taking it off, but just force you to breathe through the nose and get some deeper and more quality sleep. So I've enjoyed that. Maybe not for everyone, but I think Huberman had a nice episode on that, just talking about sleep and mouth tape. But I don't need to go too deep into the benefits, but that's been something I'm trying. But again, kind of a long-winded answer, but again, like we said, it's important to us. So I think just taking the steps you can to make sure it's quality sleep. And I'm not perfect with all those things all the time, but more often than not, that's baked into the routine, and that usually leads to a good night's sleep. And again, like I said, I probably average like 7 hours, 45 minutes of sleep a night, and my awake time is less than 10 minutes on average. So it's quality and a good duration. And again, it just leads me to higher quality sleep because, I've definitely had stages of life where it hasn't been that quality. Maybe set a time 8 hours, but only getting 7 hours of sleep just because I haven't done the things I need to make sure I'm sleeping well at night. So that's how I personally like to approach it. I should also hit on the magnesium and L-theanine too, since I brought that up. I've been doing that for probably 2 years now. Pretty well studied, pretty safe. Again, maybe not for everyone, but magnesium kind of, as I understand it, kind of a stress reliever and helps. Some people take it for mental health and like depression, but just helps with relieve stress and kind of gets you in that rested state. And then L-theanine, I actually take it before workouts too, but great before sleep. It kind of, like for workouts, kind of caffeine can leave you scattered all over the place, but L-theanine kind of centers you and keep you focused and shuts off the outside noise. And it's kind of the same for sleep, shuts off the outside noise and gets you dialed in. So I take 400 milligrams of magnesium. Which kind is it? Is it glycinate? Probably. It's probably glycinate. I think that's the best one
it's
for
either
sleep.
that or L-threonate. L-threonate goes to the blood-brain barrier, but
Gotcha. Yeah, there's different types of magnesium, but I think glycinate is usually the one that's recommended before for sleeping. And then I'll do 200 milligrams of L-theanine and do that about half hour before going to sleep. And that's something I've found helpful as well. So again, maybe not for everyone, but it could be something to try out. And they're pretty cheap supplements. So that's something I found helpful. But yeah, there's a lot there, but it's important. So try and do everything I can to maximize. But
have you read
anything else
Breath?
with that?
Have you read
What's
Breath by James Nestor?
I've not.
I highly recommend.
Things.
And also, have you ever tried the nasal strips?
No. Maybe like while sick, but again, I'm kind of cheap, so I feel like I breathe decently already through my nose. But if I ever feel like blockage, I'm not hesitant to try that out. But yeah, I think those are effective. Ashton Hall uses those as well.
Nice. I didn't go through my morning, but a lot of my morning was pretty similar. On days where I don't work out harder, I definitely have caffeine with my breakfast, so I'm done with it by 8:30 or 9. Sometimes, like today, when I don't have class and I can double up, I'll drink caffeine before breakfast. I'll have it like this morning. I had it at like 7, and then ate breakfast at like 8, and then had another cup after. So still done by 8:30. And kind of like you said, caffeine has a half life of 5 or 6 hours. So then it has a quarter life of 10 or 12 hours. So if you're having a full cup of coffee at noon, a quarter of that cup is still in your body at midnight. So it's important to get it. If you do get some caffeine in, get it in early. Because even if you don't feel necessarily the effects of the caffeine at night, there's still that caffeine in your body. Yeah, I need to be better about getting that morning light in and getting the walk in. I typically have like an electrolyte and vitamin D combination in the morning that I do almost every morning. I think routine is huge, right? I think you want to signal to your body that it is morning. So stacking things that you do right when you wake up, I think lets your circadian rhythm know that it is morning. And whether that's drinking something or eating something or moving or seeing sunlight, it's just triggering your body that, yeah, it's time to wake up, and it's going to help you in the evening. Whether that's morning suppressing melatonin or evening releasing it. So yeah, I just try to be consistent, try to find a routine, try to get caffeine in early. Yeah, but everything else was pretty similar.
And maybe some caveats too. Like for me, I kind of have the ideal lifestyle slash schedule for optimizing sleep. Like I have the same routine pretty much every day. I don't have you know, kids that I have to deal with that can affect sleep. And so obviously for other people maybe working like night shifts or who have young kids, like probably can't take all those steps to get 8 hours every night. Like, sure, it'd be great to set aside 10 p.m., 6 a.m. to sleep perfectly every night, but life gets in the way and other people can affect that. So understand that it's not doable for everyone, but maybe there's a couple things that we mentioned to try out that might be helpful to just maybe you can only get 6 hours of sleep, but just making sure those 6 hours are really high quality, or maybe just realizing the importance of sleep from some of the benefits that we've said, and maybe instead of scrolling the night for an extra half hour, just setting it down and getting a little extra half hour of sleep. So again, not gonna we have our own routines. We're not recommending people do the exact same as us, but maybe just some ideas and knowledge for other people to try out and to just see the importance of sleep. And especially if you're feeling kind of the negatives that we hit on, whether that's mood or poor recovery or just not being your best self, sleep is probably a good place to try to optimize.
So this is kind of Matthew Walker's thing. He calls it the QQRT. So when we talk about sleep, it's easy to zero in on just how much you sleep. But the truth is, good sleep isn't just about the quantity. It's a full framework that includes 4 key pillars: quantity, quality, regularity / consistency, and timing. Each one plays a unique role in how restorative your sleep is and how well it supports your overall health, performance, and longevity. So quantity, we've talked about this. Most adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. Getting less than 7 hours is consistently linked to higher risk of mortality, cognitive decline, poor immune function, chronic diseases like heart disease and type 2 diabetes. But there's also too much. So this could be indicative of chronic fatigue, or even just like an undiagnosed sleep disorder like hypersomnia. So it's not necessarily about trying to get as much as you can, but trying to get in that window. And then next is quality. So this is what happens when you're actually asleep. Are you actually getting deep, uninterrupted, restorative rest? One way that researchers measure this is through something called sleep efficiency, and you kind of touched on this. It's the measure of how much time you're actually asleep when you're in bed. You typically want to get like 85%. So if you're in bed for 8 hours, that's like 6 hours and 50 minutes of actually sleeping. And this is a great thing that wearables do. Like they measure true sleep and not just time in bed. And I feel like people get surprised at how little they truly sleep once they get a wearable. They think that just being in bed for 8 hours means you slept 8 hours, and it's not. Definitely not the case. Another part is sleep continuity. So this is how often you wake up. Frequent awakenings or light fragmented sleep can reduce the benefits of a full night in bed. And this could be things like having to go up and go to the bathroom, or even just waking up during your sleep. Next is regularity. It might be the most underappreciated part. Going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, even on the weekends, improves both sleep quantity and quality. But studies have shown that sleep regularity actually predicts long-term health better than sleep duration. People with consistent sleep and wake times had lower risks of all-cause mortality, cancer, and cardiovascular disease, even if their total sleep time wasn't perfect every night. And you have kind of a 20-minute buffer on either side to optimize that. And it just highlights the importance of consistency and following your circadian rhythm on your health. And then the last one is timing, and that refers to when you sleep. And this is largely driven by your chronotype. And as I mentioned, I'm kind of like that 11 to 7. Like if you look at my Garmin, my all-time sleep is like 11:04 to 7:03. Like regardless of what period of life I'm going through, I always kind of get back to 11 to 7. So you kind of have to ask yourself, like, if there was nothing going on, if I didn't have anything to do the next day, what time would my body want to go to bed and what time would I wake up? Like, don't set an alarm. I got nothing. When do I actually get sleepy, and when do I feel like I need to wake up? So, and this is hard because society doesn't necessarily let you schedule around your chronotype, right? So there's a bunch of different ones. And these are kind of genetically influenced. There's 22 different genes that help determine your chronotype. And there's kind of 5 different categories. There's like an extreme morning type. That's like 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. There's a morning type. It's like 9:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. There's a neutral, which is me, which is 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. There's an evening, which is like midnight, 12:30 to 9 a.m. And then there's extreme evening, which is like 2:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. And it's kind of a third split. Each third is like evening, or kind of like the night owl, neutral, and then early bird gets the worm. It's kind of an even split between those 3. And if you want to know further, there's like a morningness, eveningness questionnaire, or an MEQ that you can do. It's like 5 minutes. You can find your chronotype based on that. Or you can just ask yourself, like, what in the past have I kind of navigated towards? And it's really important to try to kind of stick to that chronotype, because deviating from that won't allow you to just be your best self. So yeah, those are the kind of 4 pillars that Matthew Walker highlights. And yeah, it's not just quantity, it's all 4. So
Yeah, I think that's good. And I kind of forgot to hit on that, and we hit on that with the weekend stuff too, but just keeping it as consistent as often as possible. And again, life doesn't always allow that, but as often as you can. I found that too, just having that consistent bedtime and wake time has been helpful for me. And I'm probably more of that 9:30 to 5:30. I just shift it back a little bit, mainly because of NFL football games getting done at 10:15 3 nights a week, and so I just keep it in the off season too. But a lot of times, if I don't get enough sleep, it's because I wake up at 5:15, 5:30, and then I just feel awake. So, and like, sometimes I'll fall asleep during that show at like 9:45, and so maybe something for me to try, just shifting it back a little bit and see if that helps. But can't do that during football season. It's too important.
Right.
What was the other thing?
So I have kind of 2 categories. There's a do more, and I kind of just hit on the regularity, how important that is, and the 20-minute wiggle you have. You kind of mentioned the get outside early in morning sunlight. we both kind of mentioned the sleep-friendly environment. I think the bedroom temperature, like mid-60s, is a good estimate, but it's kind of up to you. A lot of people use like the 8 sleep if they can afford it, and that kind of uses water to adjust the temperature. Then yeah, you can use blackout curtains or a sleep mask for darkness, and you can use noise machines if you don't have a completely quiet. Like if you live next to a highway, you can use white noise machines to help.
I do a little fan app on my phone,
Yeah.
just a little white noise.
And then you really want to manage your stress. Anxiety and rumination are two of the biggest barriers to restful sleep. So this is where like the breath work and diaphragmatic breathing comes in, shifting your nervous system from fight or flight to rest and digest. This is where the journal can be beneficial, writing those thoughts on a piece of paper and then finishing with some positive thoughts so you're not ruminating on it. And then he also mentioned you can do a hyper vivid mental walk. So you're almost going through a walk and you're trying to be as detailed as you can, like super descriptive. And it's basically just taking your mind off of the day's events and getting you towards something that's super like creative and detailed, and just focus your brain to focus outward instead of inward. So yeah, that's kind of the do more. We touched on a lot of them. And then the do less is we talked about caffeine and the detrimental effects it can have if you drink it later in the day. There's alcohol. While it's a sedative, it's not necessarily helping you sleep. It fragments your sleep architecture. It increases your awakenings, even though you don't necessarily remember them.
Makes you pee.
And that's where, yeah, alcohol impairs testosterone production, overall recovery, and it's just a lose-lose for the brain and body for sleep. Next is cannabis. So it's another misunderstood tool. While THC might help you fall asleep faster over time, your body develops tolerance, so then you need more of it to get the same effect. And it suppresses your REM sleep, so you stop dreaming. So you're missing that vital stage we talked about earlier. And once you stop THC, you experience like a rebound insomnia. So you basically have to stay on it unless you want to go through that insomnia and get over it. So not fun. And then, yeah, we kind of mentioned the late night eating and the detrimental effects that can have. So yeah, those are kind of the do's and the don'ts. How to be a better sleeper, optimize your sleep, and watch the rest of your life improve.
Real talk with the pee, though. Not only eat less, but drink less fluids late in the day so you don't have to
Right.
go to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
Right.
Also helpful.
The only time I run into troubles with that is if I sauna and then try to
Ooh, that's a tough one.
replenish.
It's a tough
Because,
one.
yeah, you get sweaty. And even if you eat supper and drink with your supper, the amount of fluid you have to drink to replenish that hydration, sometimes you overdo it. And I don't know.
That's me on the fasting days. I try to drink more water, but sleep quality isn't as good, and part of it's because I gotta pee more. Last question I have: how fast do you fall asleep as soon as you shut your eyes?
I've never been one to have a super fast sleep latency. Like Emily is like 2 minutes and she's gone.
That's me, dude. The last like year.
I've always kind of been in like the 10 to 20 range. It's definitely worse when I try to go to bed earlier, like this summer when I was trying to go to bed at like 9:30. Like it's definitely more like half an hour, right? And it's probably because I'm trying to go to bed at 10:30 and not 11 or 11:15 like my body wants to. So it's probably longer than I'd like, but yeah, I'd say 10 to 20 is probably a good estimate for me.
Yeah, it's probably how I used to be, but since I've kind of been doing all this stuff and just more consistent with bedtime, wake time, as well as consistently doing all those things, as soon as the eyes are shut, see ya in the morning.
Are your numbers
awesome.
different on your fasting days?
Yeah, it's not as good.
Like
Most of the
what do you see?
time. More waking up during the night. I still fall asleep fast, but more waking up during the night. Man, I just wake up earlier.
Heart rate lower?
Heart rate lower. Definitely lower. I've had, so Apple Watch beeps you when it falls below 40 BPM. It doesn't do it during the night when you have sleep mode. So I'll always have like 3 or 4 of those notifications, but I've had it even during the day, like whether
Right.
napping or about to nap, phone starts going crazy and it's like, sheesh. So yeah, heart rate gets down. Part of that's probably from not taking caffeine those days, but
Right.
heart rate gets
And
down.
not having to digest food.
Yeah,
Just chill.
just chill, hang out.
Yeah, my heart rate's definitely lower. My HRV's a little lower. My sleep duration's definitely a little shorter. But as I've done it more, my sleep latency's gotten less. There was early on, I felt like it was hard to fall asleep at times because my body was hungry, but it's gotten a lot better.
You do it consistently or every once in a while?
I've done it more weekly lately. I kind of do it Wednesday, Thursday, because those are shitty days for me to work out. So I just pair that.
Like 24 or 36?
I did 40 this week, or 40. Well, it was like 45, but I kind of subtract 5 because it takes your body 5 to digest the food you ate for supper. So like truly fasted, I'd say 40. But
Nice.
it was like Tuesday night to Thursday at 4.
Nice,
And it's
nice,
like
nice.
once you get past the initial like 10 to 2 on Wednesday, it's like
Yeah.
the same after that.
Yeah, for me, by 2 o'clock the next day, definitely just, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But morning's not as fun. But
Right.
you get through it. Gotta be gritty.
Yeah.
Anything else? All this sleep talk's making me tired. I'm gonna go take a nap. JK LOL Masters is on.
Yeah.
Who's your winner? Rory? Obviously, you bet on him.
Rory's finishing the Grand Slam.
I'm gonna mind reader. Let's go. I'm gonna pick my boy Tyrell. I picked him for the squad. He's gonna get it done. Tyrell, get it done.
I've heard Tyrell. Yeah.
Whatever. All right. Till next time. Thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave a rating, review, or tell a friend to check us out. Be sure to follow us at SHRP_training for more content to help you be your best self. Go be great today.